Hello, Dutch. How are you?
Good, Darren. How are you?
I'm great. How was Valentine's Day at the Dutcher household?
It was good. We kind of celebrated with the girls and boyfriends on Friday night. We went out to dinner and had a good time, and the rest of the weekend was just kind of laid back.
All right. Good job. Good job out of you. You're not in the doghouse, right? You did the right thing. You did what you had to do here as the romantic that we know you are at heart.
I'm trying to stay out of the doghouse. That's never an easy task, as you well know.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I'm just trying to follow your lead. Brian Dutcher joining us on Xtra 1360. Dutch, you got 4 regular season games to go, then the Mountain West Conference tournament with a little bit of a break. What's going on in your world right now? I know all eyes and attention for you, for your team on Fresno State upcoming Thursday. But what's going on just trying to get other games scheduled here? How's that going?
Nothing looks permanent right now as far as a game. It all depends on what the Mountain West does. If they say we're not going to make up those games in that bye week before the tournament, then that might give us one more opportunity to search for a game. If we make up games, then we'll probably just play the games that are left on the schedule. And games are getting canceled still. I mean, Nevada has canceled back-to-back series because they turned up someone in the program COVID positive, and they're not going to play Colorado State now. They've already lost a San Jose series, and so people continue to lose games, and it's kind of a frustrating thing, but something we're all dealing with.
Absolutely. Everybody dealing with it, just trying to make the most out of it. So you get a couple with Fresno, and then you get a couple with Utah State back at home. And Dutch, Boise, excuse me. Just to be clear, though, when you're talking about trying to schedule games or wait to see what the conference does, we are talking specifically about that gap between the end of the regular season and the scheduled beginning of the Mountain West Conference tournament, correct?
Yeah, they did that intentionally to leave space available in case there were games to make up, but I don't know if they thought there were this many games that had to be made up. Colorado State, for instance, has just lost back-to-back series. They were supposed to play New Mexico, and then they were supposed to play Nevada, and so they've lost back-to-back series. So they're on a 14-day break or something like that without even having tested. So what games do you make up? Obviously, I'd rather play New Mexico at home if I'm them than go to Nevada, who's proven to be very good on the road. And so are they going to make us go to Vegas and make up the Vegas series? And so even though the season looks like it's coming to an end, there's still some play as to what's really going to happen.
Well, okay, then in a perfect world, Dutch, what would you want? I know that you sort of deferred and said, well, hey, whatever the conference decides is what the conference decides. But if it were totally up to you, you have the magic wand. What would you do between the end of the regular season and the beginning of the Mountain West season?
Well, as we sit here today, I wouldn't play any more games. I think we're in the NCAA tournament as we sit here today. Now, a week from now, if we get struck by disaster at Fresno, I might have a different tune. But as we sit here today, at 23 in the net, maybe 23 in Ken Palm, you would think we're in the tournament. And that's the whole goal, is to make it to the NCAA tournament, to play in that event in March. And so maybe because we're deficient games, it won't give us a Mountain West crown if someone plays more games with the same loss total. But the whole goal of winning is to get to the NCAA tournament. That's what my goal is.
Are you 100% committed to playing in the Mountain West Conference tournament as of today?
Yes. That's the plan.
Okay.
Obviously, for everybody. I haven't heard anybody looking to opt out of the tournament. I know that was some talk early in the year with different conferences. So everything's in play. You know that. We'll see what other conferences do. But I think the Mountain West plans and all the teams in the Mountain West are to play in the conference tournament.
And you know why I asked that, and just in case the audience doesn't, because I know it might sound like an unusual question here, is there seems to be some question as to whether or not Gonzaga is going to play in the West Coast Conference tournament. Even Mark Few on record saying, hey, what's in everybody's best interest here? Is it for us to play, not to play? Should we take this risk, given that we don't really need to do anything or improve our own stature? So you've heard some of that chatter around, too. It's not just the WCC, Dutch. It feels like these are questions that many programs are asking about if it's worth the risk to go and play some neutral site tournament if your position is already pretty solid as it relates to the tournament itself, the NCAA tournament.
Well, for Gonzaga themselves, they're going to be a one seed whether they go to their conference tournament or not. The whole point would be, if Gonzaga doesn't go to the conference tournament, do they get an automatic bid, the WCC, if the other teams decide to play? The best team doesn't go, all of a sudden someone else wins. Is that an automatic bid if the first place team doesn't go to the conference tournament? That would be interesting conversation.
Yeah, I would say so. It'd also be interesting if you felt good about your position and said, you know what? It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the COVID risks. It's not worth us playing somebody at the bottom of the standings. And then that might open the door for somebody else to go ahead and secure an automatic position there. These are conversations we've never had before, Dutch.
Yeah, I think if teams back out of their conference tournaments, I don't know how you consider that an automatic bid. So that's interesting.
Right.
Lots in play right now.
Yep. Number 25 in the Associated Press poll. What's the deal with these coaches? What's the deal there? They got you at 26.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to play better, I guess. We got to play better, and we can go up the rankings. If we keep winning, we'll go up in the rankings. If we get beat, we'll fall out. It's as simple as that right now, with these games we have left. So we're in control of our own destiny, which I like. If we play well and we win games, we should be in the NCAA tournament. If we stumble, then we'll leave it in someone else's hands.
Yep. Lenardi has you as a 9 seed today. He has you as the highest seed from the Mountain West. He has Boise, Colorado State, last 4 in. Utah State as a 12 for whatever that's worth, and it's really not worth all that much with 4 regular season games to go. Dutch, what do you got on Fresno State? As mentioned, there's some familiarity there with Justin Hudson. Got a scouting report for us on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we struggled both games last year, even though we came out with wins. Points are going to be hard to come by. I mean, these 85, 90-point-a-game nights are not going to happen at Fresno. They guard at too high a level, and the scores last year, I think, were in the 60s in both games, and we were 30-2 last year. So points are going to be at a premium, hopefully for them as well as us, and hopefully we can manufacture enough offense to come out of there with 2 victories.
Right. Justin doesn't want you guys scoring any more than about, 60? Somewhere in that range? You know him pretty well.
Both games last year, I think, were in the 60s. I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, points are going to be hard to come by. It's not going to be like the last games when we're putting up 95, 90, 85, whatever it is, against Air Force and San Jose and Wyoming. Points are going to be at a premium on Thursday night.
What do you got, on him and that program that he's building there? Again, with all the familiarity, Dutch, that you had, like you said, no surprises when it comes to the actual games themselves, Thursday, Saturday. But do you see the impact of Justin Hudson? Do you see that? Have you paid attention here over the last couple of years to what it is that he's building in Fresno? Yeah,
they're like their head coach. They're hard-nosed. They play extremely hard. They defend at a really high level. They've struggled to score at times because they have one really, really good player in Orlando Robinson, a first-team type conference player, but he draws a lot of double teams, and so he's got a lot of new pieces, transfers, freshmen that he's fitting in, and without a preseason and all the extra work, it's taken him a little longer, but it seems like they're starting to hit stride, and they're playing good basketball, which is not a surprise with Justin as the head coach.
Jordan Schakel named the Mountain West Conference Player of the Week. Dutch, from your vantage point here, tell us what it was like watching him perform and obviously gain the recognition of the people who nominate him for such things.
Very deserving of the award. I mean, he's scoring the ball at a high level, even when people know with Matt out of the lineup that he's kind of a more central figure to us. And despite defenses being geared to stop him, he's still able to put up his points. Rebounds, and he's just playing really good basketball right now.
And Dutch, last thing, I don't know that you caught yourself catching a G League game. I know we've talked a time or two about watching Malachi Flynn play when he was with the Toronto Raptors, but they have this G League thing now for players that find themselves in Malachi's position. Did you happen to catch any of his performance? What was it, yesterday or the day before? 35 points here thus far, the high total game in the G League so far in 2021.
Not a surprise. I mean, I watched some of the first game he played, and he was just getting his rhythm back because, up in the NBA, he was not getting a lot of minutes, and sometimes you lose your game timing, your rhythm, and now that he's played 2 or 3 G League games, it seems that he's got his timing back, his rhythm back, and that's a good thing. So when he heads up to the big club again, he'll have had some game minutes where he's kind of back into his game. I think our guys are watching Malik Pope. I think he's playing in a G League game right now for the Spurs G League affiliate, so if I'm not mistaken. So we've got some Aztecs playing in there, and it's fun to watch them play.
Yeah, you got Jalen McDaniels out there as well. Xylem, I know that didn't finish at San Diego, but there's like 4 guys here who you've played for who are currently out there in the G League.
That's it. We've had good players through this program, and it's good to see them getting an opportunity to play beyond San Diego State and make an impact.
Well, good luck, Dutch. How do you get to Fresno? That's a bus trip? That's an airplane? What is that?
It's going to be a combination because there's a direct flight, and sometimes there aren't to Fresno. I think there's a late evening flight that we're going to fly one way there, and with a 4:30 start on Saturday, we'll bus back after the game.
All right. So you got to bring some reading material for the way home then.
I'll be watching. I'll be watching the game tape, and then watching Boise getting ready for the next series. So, always work to be done. This is the time of the year where, you're trying to finish strong. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as a coach to have the team prepared for their next game.
And you're still very much alive for a regular season conference title, right? I mean, I'm guessing that nobody has raised the white flag on that. That at 9-3 and a game and a half behind Utah State, I'm not smart enough to do the math on all that, Dutch. But I'm sure that the numbers crunchers inside of the athletic department have figured out that you guys have a path to a regular season crown now.
Absolutely. And Utah State, they've got to go to Boise this week. That will be tough. Boise's very good and only a half game back of them, and then they finish the season, Utah State, with Nevada, who's obviously proven very good, beating Boise twice. The series I wish we could have is Colorado State had to go to Nevada, and we know how well they're playing. Now that's not going to happen, and so it appears that Colorado State might have the easiest road with one series left against Air Force and 3 losses.
Still plenty, and I don't even know. I mean, 4 regular season games. I know that that's what's scheduled here. Just somehow, Dutch, I don't know. It feels like we might see more, but I don't know. We'll have to wait for official announcement. Dutch, we appreciate it. Safe travels to Fresno. All the best. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. That is Brian Dutcher. He's the head coach at San Diego State. Now, listen, for those that have no idea what I'm talking about and and again, it's a little complicated because it's college basketball. Mark Few, the head coach at Gonzaga, when asked about whether they were firmly committed to playing the West Coast Conference tournament, said, quote, "We need to do what's best for the West Coast Conference, which the best thing you could possibly do for the WCC is accrue as many NCAA tournament shares as possible." That's what pays for everybody's bills in the WCC. At the end of the day, I think it needs to be based on that. So they won't fully commit to playing in their own conference tournament. And the logic is, well, what do they need to go there and do? They're going to go jam up in a hotel in Vegas, run the risk that players could be exposed in some capacity, or that they end up losing. And if they lose, they're still going to be a 1, but maybe they're not going to be the 1 overall. So you're starting to hear these conversations right now, especially in the era of COVID, as to teams that find themselves in a comfortable position with regards to the NCAA tournament. These are the conversations that they're having. Now, not everybody's in that position, but San Diego State, as Dutch just told you, they're on the road. They're playing Fresno. They drop one of those games. All of a sudden, guess what? That Joe Lunardi 9 seed, well, that's not so secure anymore now, is it? Especially with 2 teams sitting there, as Joe Lunardi also analyzes, part of the last 4 in Boise, Colorado State, Utah State, pretty firm position. So, this is the real tricky time here where, the upside doesn't necessarily weigh as much as some of the risk that you're taking. So, these are conversations here that programs need to start asking themselves as we get closer and closer to seeing what the bracket looks like.